Hello, hello, hello. Hey, Ruby Rainmaker, you number one in here tonight, girlfriend. Hello, PG. Hello to you. Miss Justice, 111. Number two in here. Prayers, love, and justice. Amen. And let's see. My message was supposed to say much love, PG. Much love to you, girlfriend. You know it. Deputy Sheriff, number 3 in here tonight. All right. Hello, hello to you. God bless and much love. And let's see. Holler Blue, number 4 in here. Hello, PG, baby boy mods in chat. Hello, hello, hello to you. Good to see you in here. Hey, Grasshopper, good to see you. Sherry was in here. And let's see who else. Oh, wow. Sorry to hear that, Sherry. I think she's talking about her mother, if I'm not mistaken. Hey, Texas Blue, how you doing tonight? And Bridget, good to see you. Hello, PG. Glad to hear from you tonight. I hope everything is going excellent with little man. And I hope you got a chance for at least a rest within the last couple of days. Much love to you and LM. Oh, I appreciate that. God bless. Hey, Phoebe, how you doing tonight? There's my Australia. Oh, I appreciate that, girlfriend. Absolutely. Hit that thumbs up. DHC. Coupon Mama. Good to see all of you guys coming in tonight. All right. Good news, right? Good news. I mean, it's good news to PG. To my understandings, the Otis Wells boy has already been talking with someone. Who? I don't know. Could be Chris. Could be Chris. I'm not sure. It could be a news station. But I hear that he's talking with someone. He's getting ready to be 18. I understand that he's supposed to be coming out. He's going to come out. He's going to supposedly talk about what went down June 15th, 2021. I heard that he's supposed to be coming to YouTube. So, good news, right? That is excellent news that one of the boys is going to step forward and start talking about June 15th, 2021. I think we're going to understand exactly what was going on in that household. We're going to understand exactly what kind of hell these children were being put through, why they choose not to go back, and possibly even what happened to their sister, Summer Moon Utah Wells. I believe that, you know, this young man will come forth and share the truth and nothing but the truth for Summer's sake and his brother's sake. That's my opinion at this, you know, at this point in time. It's my opinion that, you know, that this is what he'll do. The one thing I know about the oldest boy was that he was the meanest boy, right? He had something that the other boys didn't have. He had the strength, he had the courage, he had he had nobody told him what to do. Nobody told him what to do. You know, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I mean, in this situation, you know, Meek and Mild isn't going to get us answers. Fear, you know, isn't going to get us answers. I believe this boy is the best out of the three to step forth and talk, because he has no fear. He has no, you know, he has no reason not to stand up and tell the truth about what happened. What I'm trying to say is, I don't think Don and Candace is going to back this boy down. I don't think that he, you know, I don't think he gives one iota about, you know, Don and Candace and what they think or how they, I don't think he fears them. I think, you know, I think that, you know, he was starting to be just like them, right? I think that he was starting to be just like them. And with, you know, with that and the counseling and everything that he got, which, you know, showed him that being like them, you know, ain't the way to go. And that isn't the way he wants to go now. He wants to go in a different direction. But with that, you know, he still has that, you know, no fear, you know, no fear in him. He doesn't think about consequences or, you know, none of those things to kind of, you know, what I'm saying is, I don't think he could be cowered down. I don't think that, you know, that he's going to be able to be manipulated or silenced or any of that. He's just, you know, he's different. He's different. You know, even though he's on a righteous path now, he still has all of that, you know, strength and courage still in him. Only it's being used for the good now, not the bad. When he was with the Wells, it was being used for the bad. Now it's being used for the good. And that's a, you know, that's what you want. That is exactly the combination that's going to get us the truth where this little girl is concerned. And what, you know, and what they went through as well. I mean, it's their story. It's their story, and who better to tell it than them, right? So this is a great thing. I'm excited. I'm absolutely excited to hear that, you know, he's already booked up with someone to come out here and to YouTube and start doing interviews. And I can't wait to hear what he has to say. I'm sure it's going to be horrific, right? It's going to be sad. It's going to be a tragedy, you know. But I think he has the courage and the strength to get it done. And I don't think that he's doing it for pay. I don't think he's doing it for any type of, you know, self-gain or anything. I think he wants to do it. I think he wants to do it for his sister. I think he wants to do it for his brothers. I think he wants to do it for himself. I think he wants to unload the load that's been on him for over 4.5 years now. That's what I think. And white boy, white boy, you know, wanted to talk some mad stuff, you know, some BS, right? He wanted to talk some BS. Absolutely. I'm just chilling. Absolutely. White boy still wants to stand in front of the whales, right? He still wants to stand with Don and Candace. I mean, he just can't get over it. He can't get over it. I don't know what the obsession is. Especially after the way, they rolled him off the hill and they have treated him and all the shit he's went through. I don't understand it. But, I guess I'm not supposed to. And to be perfectly honest with y'all, I don't want to. Okay? I just don't want to because I really don't give a shit about white boy. And that's the truth. I don't give a fuck. And some people, some people in this world, you just can't, help. You can't help them. You can't do a damn thing for them. You tell them the stove's hot and they'll keep touching it, right? They'll keep touching it. Like they don't ever learn. And that, that's white boy. But, and he's a hater. And he's a hater. He, like he hates righteousness. I don't know why he wears a cross, because he definitely hates righteousness. He hates righteous people. He hates the truth. And I don't understand, that as well. But it is what it is, The devil goes to church, right? The devil goes to church to stir up trouble. So it is what it is. But he wants to protect and talk, about the first thing he says is, do you remember Hunter and his dad coming out here? I mean, the oldest boy coming out here to talk, is probably or could be like, he's planting a seed. He's planting a seed for Don and Candace about this young man before this young man ever comes out to talk, right? And I think it's total bullshit, if you ask me. That's just my opinion. I'm bringing up Australia. Hey, girl, how's it going tonight?
Hey, beautiful. How are you?
Doing good. Doing good.
That's good. Yeah, I watched White Boy's video on him saying about one of the boys coming out. I'm the
Well,
same as you. I just hope it's not on his channel. And
right.
the only thing I'm hoping is that whatever boy it is has spoken in depth to law enforcement before he comes on YouTube and tells everything, because it could ruin the case. Do you know what I mean? If he says anything about June 15th that could act in Summer's favour, if he comes on YouTube and tells, say it's Dolly Vision or Jay's for Justice or Chris, and he starts answering questions and then it circulates, I just don't want it ruining Summer's case.
That's
the only problem I have with it.
Right. I don't have no, I don't have no problems with, like I said, I'm not sure who he signed up with to talk to on YouTube. It could be a news station. I don't know who he's, got with to come out and talk once he becomes of age and legally can do that. But I am glad that he's coming out. I think he does need to come out for his sister, for his brothers. He's the oldest, and I think he's going to stand up. Old enough, he's going to stand up for all of them. He's going to tell how it is, what it is, and how it should have been. And I think that it's going to help Summer's case. I think that I think it's going to be a plus, a big plus to Summer. Especially, especially
It'll keep her name out there and let everyone realize what she went through or what they all went through. That's definitely.
I think that, maybe he wonders why law enforcement, maybe this young man, wonders himself how law enforcement ain't solved this case with everything they know. Because see, this young man knows more about what law enforcement knows than any of us do. He really knows what law enforcement
Yeah, he sure does.
Because he was there. And and he had his dad breathing down his neck, right? That's why that's why they lost one-on-one visitations with the boys, is because Don Wells was getting in corners with this boy, breathing down his neck. And that's also why this boy got separated from his brothers.
I remember that when he was going to have his visits with his parents.
Right.
Don would corner him and say, what did you say to them or something, and try and warn him. Yeah.
Yeah. And and also this young boy understands what his dad was telling him, to keep the other boys' mouth shut, to keep them in check, to do this, to do that. And if there's anybody that really knows, what's going on in all of this, it would be the oldest boy. And, that Don was, also using, Don was also using as a trinket. He was using that boy as a trinket to try to suck people in, like he was a good dad, right? I have the video here, right here.
So when her mother come in, she says, "Where's Summer?" She went down in the basement. She didn't answer, so she went down there and she was gone. So she went out the basement door, which was unlocked, and we haven't seen her since. Please.
Yeah, she went out the basement door, which was unlocked. You see how Don Wells was trying to manipulate the public?
Yeah, he's manipulated the story from day one.
Right. I mean, this motherfucker wasn't even there. He was hiding that ass at work, waiting for the phone call that, all the dirty deeds was done, in my opinion. And so he could come home and meet up with law enforcement and, and blame it on the coworker he fired the day before for that purpose, for that very purpose, to be able to blame it on when it was all said and done on the 15th. Yep.
And then you got the scream. Jody Sue saying about the scream, and then Don saying that he didn't hear it, or Candace saying that she didn't hear it.
He said that Candace, he also gaslighted and manipulated the people on that particular conversation as well.
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Because he said Candace didn't hear it because she was in the house searching for Summer at the time the neighbor heard that scream. Well, you know what? For one, number one, this is number one and above all. The time of the scream was supposed to be at 4:42 to 4:47, 4:40, whatever. And during that time frame, Summer would have been outside planting flowers, washing her hands, getting a piece of candy. She wouldn't even have been back at the house yet.
That's right.
Dad
And then
was
you've
told her-
got Marlena saying that Candace called her at 4:30 to tell her that Summer was missing.
Exactly. Phone call with Marlena, but
All these liars.
exactly. But the thing is, I don't
It
doubt.
will be good to hear the truth.
I think there was a phone call between Candace and Marlena. And I think Marlena told that because, law enforcement done checked the phone. They already knew Marlena and Candace was speaking at 4:30. But I think their phone call at 4:30 was because Candace needed to be down at Fred's meeting up with Chad. Chad was on his way into the holler wanting to let, and he had Marlena call Candace's phone because that would be less suspicious than him calling the phone. Because he's meeting up with Candace and they're leaving out of Ben Hill Road, going somewhere, and that's the way criminals work. Criminals
Yep.
always work like that. You always have someone else make the phone call that, when you're meeting up with someone. If you're meeting up with someone, for some unlawful reason, then you're not going to make a phone call to this person, or around the fucking time you're meeting up. You're going to have someone else make that phone call, and so nothing could be proved. Nothing could be proved where you're concerned at. So you don't want to connect yourself. You don't want to connect yourself to the person that you're meeting up with. That's just a number one rule, in the unlawful life of the world.
See poor little Josie's face in that video, and how
Right.
Donald's got his arm around the shoulder, pushing him in and applying pressure, like he's scared and
He's
making him
this
not
boy
talk.
knows, this young man knows that daddy was dragging him along just as a trinket, like a trophy.
You can tell he's threatened there.
To make him, to make Don Wells look better. I'm standing here with my son. I'm a working man. I'm a good man. My family goes to church. I mean, I'm going to tell you something about these fucking criminals, dude. They know how to set themselves up to smell like a rose when really they're a pile of manure, right? When they're a pile of manure. And they do that. They set themselves up like that because they know, what they're who they really are and what they're really doing. And they know the severity of, the severity of the consequences if, the law comes down on them. And they want to show up and, and present themselves as, as what they've been portraying themselves to be, not what they are, what they've been portraying themselves to be: the good Christian, the family man, the hard worker, because that's what gets them off and able to continue being the big pile of crap they are, right?
Yep.
You know, it don't work all the time. It don't work all the time. But a lot of times it does. A lot of times it will. You know,
PJ, do you think the red truck is a load of crap?
I think, to be honest with you, yeah, I think the red truck
I
thing
do too.
is pure bullshit. I don't think there was any red truck up on Ben Hill Road on June 15th, 2021. I don't think there was no damn red truck, no red Tacoma with ladder racks flying around
No,
on Ben Hill Road. No, I don't.
no.
I think that was I think that was a deterrence,
Lie of the devil.
Something to throw we the people off, maybe law enforcement, I don't know. You know, I have to wait till this boy comes out. I have to wait till I hear what he has to say, to really draw any conclusions.
Poor little sweethearts.
But I'm glad he is, and I ain't going to do a thing. I'm not doing one thing to try to stop it, because I think this is, I think this is a gift from God to all of us to finally hear some real truth in everything. If the young man is willing to tell the truth, I don't know. I have to draw, like I said, I have to draw my conclusions after I hear, what he has to say. And he ain't the only one. He ain't the only one that's going to age out. The other two is going to age out as well. The middle boy, to be honest with you, I would really like to hear the middle boys.
From Wyatt.
Yeah, I would really like to hear what he has to say about everything. Because we have, but for Don Wells, let me go back to this, because I don't want to skip over anything tonight. I don't want to go.
Yeah, go ahead.
Don't want to be all over the place. But with Don Wells, making a statement at that door, let's go back to the basement door. Don Wells was, like I said, wasn't there. Even more so, at the time of the scream, Summer would have still been in the, custody of Candace and Grandis. But Don Wells also says that, Candace was in the house at the time of the scream and looking for Summer, and she didn't hear it. Well, Grandma wasn't in the house. See, Don Wells tried to gaslight people by leaving Grandis out of it. He just wanted you to focus on Candace, not Grandis. He didn't want people understanding there was two women there, not one woman, two women. And Grandis's ass was out, even if say the scream would have been closer to 6 o'clock and Candace would have been in the house. If there was a scream, Grandis's ass would have heard it, because she was there and she was outside.
That's right. But then she said she was sleeping. To someone else.
Well, she took a nap before they ever planted flowers, before they washed hands, before they had candy. So she wouldn't have been asleep when Summer disappeared. Her nap, she already took her damn nap, and her nappy time was over when all of that stuff supposed to went down. But here's the thing. There was no scream. And how do we know there was no scream? Well, I'll tell you how we know. Because PG told Don Wells, I'm tired of you using that scream. You sound stupid. He got pissed off. He got erratic with me, and started to pick a argument, right? He started to pick an argument.
Yeah, I've got that on video.
He says, no, sissy. Actually, and I said, no. And he's like, yes, mother, you know how Don gets. And he was, you know, getting real ugly. And I told him, hey, listen, I'm just going to hang up because I'm not going to, you know, I'm not going to argue with you. You know, I don't have a dog in the race, right? I don't have no dog in the race. I'm going to hang up the damn phone. I'm just trying to explain something to you. And if you don't want to listen, then, you know, there's no point in me telling you. You know, if you ain't willing to calm down and hear me out, then, you know, F you. It's F you, man. I got to go. He said, okay, sissy. I'll be quiet. Tell me. I said, okay. The screen's supposed to be at 4:42, 4:47, 4:48. Fuck, I don't know. But I know it was before 5 o'clock. And I told him at that particular time, Summer would have still been in the custody of Candace and Grandis outside planting flowers, washing hands, and getting a piece of candy because they didn't even get home till 3:30. They packed in groceries, right? They got something to eat, supposedly. They packed in these groceries. They got themselves something. They put things away, the groceries and stuff. They put stuff away. Then they got something to eat. Like I told him, damn, it would have been, you know, at that point, it'd have been past 4 o'clock. And then Candace says that, you know, she went out to the door and seen her mom sitting at the trailer door. And she went over there. She didn't tell nobody to watch Summer then. When she went out of that house and went over to talk to Grandma, she didn't tell no one to watch Summer. She didn't say, boys, watch your sister. I'm going to go talk to your grandmother. No. She took that ass out of the house, went over to talk to Grandma, and, you know, and said, hey, are you okay? They're out there talking probably 10, 15 minutes. We're heading to 4:30. We are heading to 4:30, baby. And the scream's only going to be about 10 minutes away now. And like I said she went back over. She said, I know who will help plant flowers, Summer. So she went back over to the house and asked Summer if she wanted to help plant flowers. Summer pops up, runs out, goes over to help plant flowers. Now, you know, they're planting these cactuses, which is going to take time because these things can stick you. It ain't like you're going to put them, you know, you can't just grab a hold of them and put them in there. You have to be very careful when you're planting this kind of stuff. So it would have been almost 5 o'clock or after 5 o'clock when they got these, you know, this stuff planted and they started to wash their hands. It would have been 5 o'clock. And she still hasn't went in the house to get a piece of candy and took back to the other house, right? So how in the hell could Candace be in the house, not hearing a scream at 4:40 something, when they would have still been planting flowers and outside doing shit? Of course they would have heard the scream. And it couldn't have been Summer because Summer would have still been in the custody of Grandis and Candace, as I said. So I told him, I said, you're using this scream and you're just sounding stupid because she couldn't have been missing at that time. Yeah, if the scream would have been 5:40 something and, you know, and a 5:40 something instead of the 4:40 something, it would have worked. But it's not working. It's like a fucking hour off, Dawn. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And I'll be damned. He says, I got to go, sissy. I said, okay. He hangs up. He calls me back when he's driving home. And I told him, I said, what's up? He said, okay, I had to finish up work and get, you know, telling me a bunch of, what he did is he called Candace. And he told Candace, you know, that he was sounding stupid. And that scream needed to be at 5 something, not 4 something. And it was an hour off. He told her what I told him. That's what he did. She calls Jody Sue. Now, when Don gets home, I'm on the phone. He walks into the house, and I hear Jody Sue and Candace having it out. And Jody Sue's talking about she wants her money. She wants her money. And I said, that's Jody Sue. You know, I said, ain't that Jody Sue, Candace? I know her voice when I hear it. And Candace said, yes, it's Jody Sue. And I said, what the hell she want money for? I said, what money? And Candace said, my gift cards and the money that, you know, people's been sending me. I said, why in the hell would you be giving her the money that people sending you? She's been getting her own money, right? And they were in an argument over money because Candace wanted her to change that timeline. She wanted her, you know, to change.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
And Candace had been giving Jody Sue gift cards and money and everything because Jody Sue helped her out by, you know, saying that there was a scream, and they owed her. They owed her for, you know, for throwing a monkey wrench in the middle of a missing child's case, which, you know, could land her ass in jail. And I don't understand why it hasn't. That's my, you know, my opinion. And I heard the conversation over the money. And I told Candace, I said, she been giving you any of the money she's getting? And Candace said, no. Well, of course not, because, you know, Jody Sue don't owe Candace. Candace owes her. And I knew that. And I knew exactly what happened. And anyway, Jody Sue, Candace hung up on her. Jody Sue wasn't getting no more of what, you know, of what Candace and Dom was bringing in, because she wouldn't change. She wasn't willing to change the you know, timeline, because she said law enforcement already was calling it, you know, calling it unsubstantial, which means, you know, that it's bullshit. And they knew it was bullshit. And she wasn't, you know, she wasn't going back and trying to change anything. You know, it's an hour off, it's an hour off. I did what you guys wanted me to do. Give me my effing money. And Candace had been giving it to her, you know, but I guess Candace had slowed down, you know, slowed down on it. And Jody Sue was mad, pissed off and mad, and you know, wanting to know when she's getting more. I don't know what deal they made, but I do know that she felt she was still entitled to whatever Candace and Dom was bringing in.
She still feels entitled, sitting over there on her channel, talking
Oh,
for
no.
hours on end, talking in riddles.
Well,
She says the same thing over and over and over again for 6 hours nonstop.
You know, she lied for him, and you know, and she messed up a missing child's investigation. That's what she did. She lied about that damn scream, and she messed up that, you know, so by her lying about the scream allows me to know that, you know, that she knows exactly what happened to Summer. She knows what happened.
She sure does.
You know, and that lets us know that more people than Dawn, Candace, and Grandis know
More
exactly
people are
what happened to this little girl.
More people are coming forward, aren't they?
Oh yeah, and you know, and this young man, you know, he's about to come out, and he's about to, you know, spill the beans as well. He's about to come out and spill the beans also. You know, what I'm trying to say is Dawn and Candace, you know, they think that they are highly educated criminals, but you know, they're not beyond manipulation. They are not. No criminal is beyond manipulation. You know, by me, you know, calling Dawn out, and I knew exactly what I was doing, and you know, I knew I was going to piss him off. I knew that, you know, I knew exactly what I was doing when he thought that, you know, I was trying to help him. And really what I was doing is manipulating him to do exactly what he did. I knew that if they was lying about the scream, he was going to try to get Jody Sue to move it. And they did. And they did. And when he walked into that house with me on the other end of that phone, letting me, hear Jody Sue and Candace going at it, well, right then and there, I said, damn, I was right. I was right. This bitch is in on it, and Candace is trying to get her to change that screen and the time of the screen. And she's like, no, you're going to be paying me for, the time I gave them. I don't give a fuck. It was an hour off. We made a deal and you're going to keep it. And where's my money? That's what was going on. That is the conversation that was happening between these people at that particular moment. And that told me all I needed to know. It told me that the screen was bullshit, that this woman knows exactly what the hell went down and why it went down. And, and she was willing to be as evil as these other people were to cover it up for a price, right?
Yep.
There you go.
I think you've been right from the get-go.
Right. Absolutely. That's what I'm talking about.
It's exactly how I feel. I don't think I agree with you that she dropped Candace home, kept Summer in the car,
Criminal.
put the groceries inside, jumped in the car. Something was wrong with Summer. She freaked. She took Summer somewhere, and whatever happened after that, that's where I kind
I think, my personal opinion, because of the way Hunter was acting on June the 15th, and his family said he was acting weird, that he ran into his room, that he came home, his knees, knocking, his teeth rattling, his hands shaking. He was a motherfucking mess.
Absolutely.
And
something bad went down.
That told me right there, that something happened at the swimming hole. Now, then what I needed to know is, where's the video to that swimming hole? So I went and looked at the video to the swimming hole, right? And what I saw was, I already know that Candace stopped and got illegal substances to cloud this young guy's mind before they went to that swimming hole. I knew that this boy came back home,
and the little one and little Summer could have gotten into it too,
with an unclear mental state. And the last thing I saw on the video was Hunter going into the water. And I tell you, I learned more before he went into the water than after he went into the water, because before he went into the water, Candace turned that camera on him and he didn't even know it.
Yeah.
He turned the camera on him and he did not know.
Face.
And when he turned around and he saw her with that camera on him, he's like, the look on his face is, what the fuck are you doing? That told me they were there for a sinister reason, that they were there to do something that, he didn't believe should be being videoed. And then he tried to play it off. And then he starts walking out into the water to, like, I don't give a damn. I'm a thug. I'll do it on video. If that's what you want, I'll do it on video. And as he's going out into the water, I seen Summer see him, the fear that went over her. She tried to shrink back and the video camera went off. That told me everything I needed to know about what the hell was set up on June 15, 2021. In my opinion, he went out there and he did what Candace Wells wanted him to do. And I'm going to tell you, nobody can hear. You can't scream when you're underwater. And even if you do, nobody's going to hear it. Okay? So the point being is, that's the best place to do what they needed to be done, to get Summer out of the way, because something was wrong that was going to get them put in prison. And they weren't about to go to prison for, for whatever was wrong with Summer. They
Did-
needed to
did-
get rid of her. She was sick. Something was bad wrong with her. You could tell that from, the pictures prior to, June 15th. You could tell she was very sick and getting worse. You could see the decline. So whatever it was, they were scared to get medical attention for her. And they went ahead and they destroyed this little girl
100% PG.
at the hands of Hunter, in my
Absolutely.
opinion. They didn't dress her at the swimming hole. They got her straight to the car, put her on a wet pillow, leaning against the driver's side door. They went to get the medicine. They went through Sonics. They ordered 4 drinks instead of 3 because they wanted to make it look like they were getting her one too, when, there's no movement of her. And then they go to the grocery store where there's no movement of her. She's still wet on the pillow. Hunter has to sit there while Grandis and Candace are in the store. He has to sit there and look at what he done. He has to sit in this vehicle with an online child, in my opinion. And that's it becomes reality, baby. It becomes reality when you're sitting there. It's going to freak you the fuck out when you're stuck in a back seat with someone, unalived, no matter how bad or how, mean you thought you was. You're going to find out real quick that you're fucking spooked. You're fucking spooked staring over at some, at a child you just destroyed. And he goes home. All he wanted to do is get the fuck out of that car and run that ass into the house and, and try to calm down, because he was super spooked. And Allison had no choice but to, bring the kid in the house and dress it, clean it up and dress it and do what needed to be done, prop it back up out there on those milk jugs so Candace could get the fuck out of there. And, and Allison could feel safe. She could feel safe now, that they're gone. And I do believe that the reason they went back to Allison's house is because Allison needed to bleach. She needed to bleach the freaking bathing suit and the clothes that Summer was wearing. She needed to, wash and bleach it up. She needed to take care of that stuff. And they went back to retrieve it from Allison's house because they couldn't take it home with them because, law enforcement, search dogs, everything's going to be around. And there's no way that they could, bring that stuff back to the house. So they left it there, and that's what they went back to Allison's house to do, is to retrieve the stuff that Allison had and Allison was washing up from being, from being changed. And that's my opinion. And when Candace got back to Ben Hill Road and she got her little 5-second video, that real quick show Summer in the back seat, second, and it was quick, and it was damn quick, if you guys remember. And that was just for the police to show that, we brought her home. She was asleep, but she was with us close to the house. No, she wasn't asleep, baby. She was deceased. That's what she was. And law enforcement couldn't prove that. They couldn't prove it. And I don't know why they couldn't prove it, because you could see clearly see lipstick smeared at the bottom of her lip. You could see that she had the bruising already starting, the discoloration, even under the makeup. She was having the discoloration, and the fingernails was showing, and law enforcement pretty much knows she was unalived in that vehicle, but they can't 100% prove it. Once they got back to Ben Hill Road, Candace was meeting up with Chad Arnold, because Chad Arnold, is related to the grave diggers, right? The people who do all the grave
Fred's
digging.
best friend.
Who had open graves at the time. And, and he was, the other part set up. And that's why Marlena calls into Candace, you know, to let Candace know, or Candace called her to see if Chad was coming, one way or the other. But it was about Chad, and Chad's supposed to be there, and, you know, to hook up with Candace. And he showed up, and she followed him out of Ben Hill Road, and they, you know, they took Summer somewhere. We don't know where, but they took her somewhere. And that,
That's,
you know, and
that's
that's
where
how she
I'm,
disappeared.
that's where I'm lost.
But my personal opinion, Chad Arnold knows exactly where Summer Wells is, you know, buried. That's my opinion.
They all do.
And I believe that Fred Hill does too. I believe Fred and knows, and Laura knows.
Andy, Laura,
I
Jody
think
Sue,
that
all of them.
I think Cotton Simpson knows, knew what went down, but he was, you know, he was a weak, what they call a weak link in everything. And word got back that Cotton had been talking, you know, to his mother about seeing Summer's online body down at Fred's. He was talking to, you know, some other family about seeing the online body, and they decided, you know, they needed to get, well, they got rid of his mother first, like a week before his mother dies. 1 week later, he's dead. What the hell's the coincidence of a mother passing away, and a week later her son dead as well? You know, what the fucking odds is that?
And you've got that other man, I can't remember his name, Pumpkin L. Taylor. He died the day after Summer died. Or the day after, I should say, Summer went missing. Sorry, my
Yeah,
bad.
a lot of people. I'm going to tell
And
you.
he's from Van Hill Road area.
And look at Candace.
He was
Candace-
found drowned in the Greenville River.
He was found face down
Yeah.
in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And then you take Dee Dee. You know, this good woman that was hanging around with, you know, Candace and everything. And, you know, she started to notice that every time she had Candace around, she was going into the hospital. If Candace wasn't around, she wasn't going to the hospital. But as soon as she brings Candace around, she ends up in the hospital. And she didn't want Candace around. She told people that Candace had been acting, you know, been saying shitty stuff to her and mistreating her, and, you know, and being, I think she was on to Candace. I think she knew Candace was doing something, or suspected Candace was doing something to, you know, to her health. And she wanted Candace to stay away. And, you know, Candace ended up coming one more time. And, you know, and that last time they went, you know, felt sorry for her and went and got her. Well, look what happened to Dee Dee. And Candace didn't try to revive her. She didn't call 911 for her. She didn't say, hey, you're not feeling well, let's get you in a car and go to the hospital. You know, I don't care. You know, get in the car. We're going to the hospital. If nothing's wrong, then we'll be coming back. We can, you know, we can go shopping, or we can have, you know, we can have a good time once you're checked out. She doesn't put her in a car and take her to the hospital. She doesn't, you know, she knows she's talking to her husband, wanting her husband to come home, take her to the hospital. But Candace doesn't offer to drive her. She doesn't offer to put her in a car and drive her to the hospital. Candace doesn't offer to call 911 for the woman. She doesn't, you know, she doesn't try to resuscitate her when she does need 911, right? Why would this woman call her husband to go to the hospital if she didn't want to fucking live? Make that make sense. Candace wants to sit there and try to gaslight or bullshit people by saying, oh, she didn't want 911 called. She didn't want to go to the hospital. You lying bitch. She called her husband to take her to the hospital. Your fucking ass was there. You knew she needed a hospital, and yet you don't get her you don't take her to hospital. You don't call 911 for her. You don't try to resuscitate her.
Exactly.
what the fucking hell is wrong? And then you keep it a secret. You keep it a secret that she's dead until they do the autopsy, and just a general autopsy, not a full one, not the one that needed to be done.
Yeah.
You make sure that and they just basically, a regular doctor looks her over, pronounces her gone, and uses any damn excuse for her being, a logical explanation. And you make sure that she gets sent over to the morgue and gets, put in the fire before you tell people that she's even dead. And the reason that you didn't want to tell people that she's dead before she got put in a morgue and burned was because you were afraid that people were going to call at the hospital and demand that an autopsy be done, because Candace Bly, is a number one suspect in her own daughter's disappearance. And a lot of people's been coming up, unalived around her. And this woman, this needs to be looked further into, because she didn't get her no help. She didn't try to resuscitate, didn't call 911. Actually, when her husband comes in the door, she's sitting on a sofa waiting for her husband to come in, lives with the guy for fucking months after the woman's dead, sells all the woman's stuff. Come on, y'all. I mean, in my opinion, she mother freaking off this woman. She off this woman and fucking got away with it.
She's done a lot of things in her life, Candace. I reckon that
She off
the
that
law
woman. You
that
know,
the
in
cops
my
don't even
opinion,
know about.
this is my opinion. She offed that woman and got away with it, just like she fucking destroyed her own daughter at that swimming hole with the hands of that goofy boy that she groomed, right? And was feeding illegal shit and got away with it too. This bitch has gotten away with too much. And I pray to God that she don't get away with nothing else. I pray to God her ass gets caught and she gets put in prison where she belongs. That's my opinion. I'm going to keep it.
I'm into that. Well said. Anyway, PG, I'm going to get down. The kids are carrying on.
Hey, girl, I appreciate you coming up and hanging out with me.
Yep.
Summer's case, Summer's case.
It's got to get solved.
It does. It does. And I'm going to tell you, her case is really stressful, Australia, because these motherfuckers are, you can't believe these motherfuckers are getting away with the shit they're getting away with.
You know, when I make a video, PG, at the end of it, I'm in tears. And there are other times where I do another video and I get that mad, that livid, that I take it out on my family.
Right.
So I had to stop because it was getting to me. It was that upsetting. The stuff I found out, I just couldn't do it. I've backed off. I'm still doing it, but I've backed off a bit.
I'm not going to take it out on anyone else, because I'm going to tell you what, everyone else is innocent. It's them dirty son of bitches that's guilty. It does piss me off. It pisses me off greatly that these motherfuckers are getting away with all of this bullshit and all of this freaking evilness. It seems like this world is geared. It's geared towards, evilness is so righteous and righteousness is so evil. And I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired
of it too. It's got to be solved. Someone's got to come forward. Someone's got to tell the truth. And any of the neighbours or anyone in that area that is holding something, if you know something, pick up the phone and call the TBI and tell them what you know, because it's time to bring the little baby home.
Yeah, amen, girl. That's what I'm talking about.
She needs a funeral. She needs to be laid to rest. and blessed by the
Josie,
Lord.
and Josie might just be the key to opening the
Her
very
little
place God
soul.
is. He may be the key to finding a sister. He may be the key to laying her
I
to
hope
rest
so.
properly.
I've
He
got cold
may,
chills while you're saying that.
he may be the key to solving this whole case and giving everybody the peace and the rest that we all need from all
If
of
she
this
was my
tragedy.
child, if she was my child, I would be screaming from the tops. You wouldn't be able to shut me up, even 5 years later.
I'm going to tell you something. If
Hearing
you
about
know
if
what,
anything happened to my baby girl, I would kill them. I would happily do time in jail.
I'm going to tell you what,
Solve it.
girlfriend. You take Michael Vaughn's mother, and that shows you a real
Yeah, the poor
mother
little thing
that
battling
had
cancer
nothing
too.
that had nothing to do with her child's disappearance. Michael Vaughn's mother is a prime example of what a real mother who is innocent looks like. Candace Wells is the mother freaking prime mother freaking suspect in her missing daughter's case because she is not and has not and did not ever act like Brandy at all. She did not ever once,
Poor Brandy.
Brandy was out there, heller. I'm going to tell you something. We are all parents in here, right? We are all, every last one of us are parents. Maybe not biological parents, but we all are parents in one way or another here. If we don't have our own children, we have nieces and nephews that we watch over just like their own. They're ours. We have friends, children that we watch just like we would watch our own. We have godchildren that we would watch just like our own. I mean, godchildren, you're willing, something happens, God forbid it don't. But if something did, you're willing to bring these kids into your house and finish raising them for the rest of their life
Yeah,
because that is the agreement you made and you will uphold if anything happens.
absolutely. I've got a I've
We
got a
all
great
know.
niece. I've got a
We,
great niece and a niece that look exactly like my daughter and granddaughter.
exactly. And we all,
And I love them like my own.
every last one of us understand real love. We understand what it's like to truly love a child and care about a child and want the best for that child, now and forever. And we all know what we would do if something happened to one of these children we truly love. You couldn't hold us back. I don't give a fuck if they could send law enforcement, FBI, CIA, they could send mother freaking, the motherfucking military. And I'll tell you what, they're not going to hold us back from looking for that child. They're not going to hold us back from going into the woods. They're not going to hold us back from
Exactly.
going in.
I would be
If
storming
we
into
thought that child was in someone's house, they're not going to keep
yes.
us from going fucking in that house and taking a look. They're not going to
I
hold us
would be
back from
digging people's
anything.
backyards up.
Because when you love somebody, nothing's going to hold your ass back from doing what you need to do to find that child and get it back in the arms of yourself, if it's your child, or the arms of the
Amen,
person
PG.
that
Yeah,
belongs in. There's nothing.
absolutely.
And I'm going to tell you something. You wouldn't stop me, baby. You ain't going to
No
stop me. I
way.
don't give a damn who the fuck you are. You are not going to stop me.
I'd
There's no
borrow
way in hell.
I'd
But
borrow
Candace sits
Granny's
there. Candace and Duncan.
I'd borrow Granny's shotgun and take it with me onto one of the properties on Ben Hill Road and look for her. You know what I'm talking about, the Beverly Hillbillies. I'm just trying to make it a bit of fun, but I'd be like a little granny. There'd be
right?
nothing stopping me.
You can't stop. You cannot stop someone who truly loves somebody. I'm going to tell you,
Yep. And she needs to come home to have a burial so her little soul
you are
can
no
rest at
longer,
peace.
you are no longer, when something like that happens, you are no longer in your right mind. You're in a whole different mindset, a whole different, you are unstoppable. Because your mind can't think of anything but retrieving what belongs to you, which is your child or your nephew or your niece or, a friend's child that you greatly care about and you love and, you've watched grow up and, you're like, hell no, this child's getting found.
Yep. Yep.
Nothing's going to stop you. But Candace and Dawn use law enforcement as an excuse not to do what they should have been doing if their child was truly missing.
I can't believe
and that right there told us, Phoebe.
Disgusting.
Right there told us they were guilty as fucking hell. That they were, we knew they were using law enforcement as an excuse.
Before they even came on YouTube.
They already knew what happened. These I'm going to tell you what really upsets me. Even more so than all of their fucking games and shit, because that upsets me too. But what really upsets me is these motherfuckers wasn't even willing. They weren't even willing to fucking play the part of a grieving fucking dad and mom. They wasn't even, or grandma.
No, they didn't. They didn't grieve at all.
To play the fucking part of, of the grieving bastards. They wasn't even willing to try to act like, they weren't guilty. They wasn't even willing to act like they wasn't fucking guilty. These lazy son of a bitches sat right fucking there and mother freaking was proud of,
I remember when, do you remember when
had done and felt they got away with, right?
Do you remember when little Cleo Smith went missing in Australia back 5 years ago?
Right.
Little Cleo went missing. It took the police 2 weeks to find her, and they went in and scooped her up in their arms and took her back to the hospital. She was checked out, released, and the man got sentenced. But while all that was happening, 2 weeks took Don and Candace to get their asses on TV to make an appearance to talk about their daughter. That's 14 days that this little Australian girl was missing, and she went missing at the same time as Summer.
I'm going to tell you something. They didn't only take time to get onto the news, but they also didn't pass out no flyers. They wasn't making no phone calls. They wasn't going neighbor to neighbor's house. They wasn't running into them damn woods. These motherfuckers weren't doing anything. You know what they said up there and said? We tried to tell them. We tried to tell them she wasn't out there, but I guess that they just had to, I don't know what you to call it, follow protocol, Don. They had to follow protocol because, they didn't know what happened. They don't know if she wandered off. They don't know if she's abducted. They don't know what the hell's going on. The law enforcement did come in there blindsided, not knowing what the fuck's going on. But you, Candace and Grandis, weren't blindsided at all. You were standing there telling them where she wasn't, making up some bullshit where she was. And it didn't take them long to understand that you motherfuckers were the number one suspects, that they should have turned that into a crime scene. They should have done things differently, but they dropped the fucking ball because they didn't, they didn't know, and they just assumed that, they pretty much knew there was no abduction because of the place being, so secluded like that. and they pretty much knew that
Exactly. No one's going to drive up to that up that hill and steal a little girl and drive away.
well, you know, they pretty much knew
Not
that
unless they knew
that all
her.
of these people knew one another. They knew that these people up in there all knowed one another. And they pretty much knew that nobody wanted nobody else's kids. Half the people don't want the kids they got, right? So they're like, nobody's going to come around here abducting a kid, and nobody around here wants a kid. They don't want their own kid, so they ain't going to take somebody else's. More than likely, the kid wandered off if it ain't foul play. And they were thinking, this man works. These people seem to go to church. They got gaslighted. Law enforcement got gaslighted by these motherfuckers, and they just
still
assumed
are.
that the kid wandered off, and they was going to find it real quick, and then like you said, 14 damn days later, they're sitting there like we dropped the ball. These motherfuckers are guilty.
And
They
were off their face when they did that interview. Not one tear, not one shred of anything.
Candace sat there and put her
And it was like she was reading from a book.
She sat there and put her crusty foot in her own mouth, right? She stuck her own crusty foot in her mouth. Probably the reason that, that she had to get her crusty teeth taken out. But the point being is, she sat there and said, pretty much told us that they were, that they was doing some really evil shit with these kids, because she sat there and said, if I would have been there, they wouldn't have treated her like that. So she pretty much told us that one of the Johns, right? One of the Johns that they had hanging around and done something evil that caused this little girl to start going downhill, her health to go downhill and deteriorate to the point that they had no choice but to go to that damn swimming hole and talk that young boy into going out there and doing something sinister, and they had to hide it and cover it all up, or they were going to be going to prison. She pretty much sat there and fucking told us. And then Jody Sue just came out and told us, bluntly told us, right? She got pissed off at Andy. Well, a scorned up bitch. He didn't put a ring on her ass in all them years with 2 kids and everything else. He didn't stick a ring on it. And then he puts a ring on something else. And this bitch is heated, like a mother effer. If I'm not going to have you, nobody will. I'm about to tell some real truth on your ass. And she did, you to go ask him what he was over there giving Candace as a date, those little girls, not just Summer, but other little girls, to be touched. So, she came out and said it, as well. You had Candace.
Yeah, and then she has the audacity to take it all back.
Don Wells came out and said, I sold a $5,000. My boss called me, want me to know why I sold that $5,000 tape of him doing dirty stuff, to my daughter. He come out and told, right?
He did.
Yes. And you know what?
And he went even further and said more.
They still ain't in fucking jail. They still ain't in jail. You tell me what the fucking hell is wrong.
I've got 7 alibis. Candace has none. And she's going down.
You tell me. Tell me what's wrong with this law enforcement that these people ain't in prison. Because I'll tell you what. If it was anyone else, your ass would be sitting behind bars right now. You'd be
Absolutely.
And you wouldn't be getting out. You would not be getting out. They would, law enforcement would pull up. They would have said, I don't give a damn who you said it to. You said
and
you're going to jail for it.
Even for saying that about his daughter being on a sex tape and selling a sex tape to his boss for $5,000 and laughing about it should be enough to haul his ass down to the
And
to
Candace in the
the
background
lockup,
laughing.
throw him in the jail cell and let the inmates deal with him.
Right?
I
Exactly.
can't wait till he
Exactly.
gets into jail, but they're going to have a field day with him.
And
Even
then
Candace.
listen to this. Listen to this.
with
no boy.
with her in summer. She did not have the other 3 boys with her. I asked her where the boys were. She said they were home. They were supposed to be cleaning. And she brought them home between 2 and 2:30. Summer was asleep in the back seat of her car in the truck.
Now was
And it was strange because
was the grandma there? Did she go swimming with them and fishing?
You could tell Allison was lying. You could tell Allie was lying. She's like, she was asleep in back of the car, back of the truck. I mean, even Allison was motherfucking all disturbed because she knew the truth. She knew the truth, right? There you go. She knew the truth. Even she was, all disturbed and shit. It just is what it is. It is what it is. And
Yeah, it is what it is.
yeah. And she goes on, watch.
That day with them?
the grandmother, when Candace picked Hunter up, the grandmother was in the hospital to get her knee checked out.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And
And
what time was that at? What time did she come and pick up Hunter?
it was between 10 and 10:30 in the morning.
I thought Allison was asleep.
Yeah, I remember that. PT, do the police and the TBI have the same timeline as everybody else? Do you know?
Law enforcement has the timeline of that morning. And law enforcement knows. I mean, Ronnie Lawson totally, he totally come out and he said, he told the woman that worked there for many years with Ronnie, was talking to Ronnie. She said, I'm talking to some YouTubers. Is there anything you want me to ask them? And he said, yeah, ask them to ask Dawn and Candace why they waited 4.5 hours to call law enforcement. That's what he said. Ask them why they waited 4.5 hours to call law enforcement. Well, that right there tells us that Summer was unalived on the milk jugs. Law enforcement pretty much fucking knows it. And, and they didn't see no movement. I mean, it's common sense. It's common sense from what Ronnie said out of his own mouth, that they believe that she was, deceased in the backseat of that vehicle. That she got, unalived at the swimming hole.
Exactly.
I mean, and not only
I
that.
wouldn't be able to live with myself if I
Not
knew
only
something
that,
like that.
But let's think about it. Ronnie Lawson said, the scream unfounded. He said no signs of an abduction at all. He said, and Pruitt came behind him and said if she was out there, we did an extra deep dive search. After all the foliage went down, we did an extra deep dive search. And if she was there, wandering off, we'd have found her. That's what he said. So,
And if she's ever found,
they let you know that they know she didn't wander off.
yeah.
They let
And
you
if
know
she's ever found, it'll
she
be
wasn't
close to
abducted.
home.
They let you know that it's fucking foul play. They let you know that the number one suspects is Dawn, Candace, and Grandis. This is fucking elementary, right? This is elementary to figure out.
It's straightforward, yes.
And yet these bastards still have not been arrested. You got to sit there and say why. Why? But I bet you Josie can answer that. I bet
I
you
hope
that
so.
Josie knows a whole lot that we don't know
I
about.
hope those
You
little
with me,
boys, that-
and
I
I bet
hope
he
all
knows a
three of
lot
them.
about law enforcement. What do you think, Australia?
I agree.
I think that boy knows exactly how law enforcement down there works since he's got such dirty
Exactly.
fucking parents. And you know, and they were training him up to be just like them, right? They was grooming him to be just like them. So you know what? This boy definitely knows how all that shit worked. He was almost 14 years of age. So he's got a great insight on,
He
on
looks so
all of that.
young. He looks so young in the photos back
He
then.
wasn't. He
So he
wasn't.
was 13.
And they had this boy was hardcore. This boy was hardcore, baby. They was
Yeah,
making.
I know.
Don Wells was about to turn this boy into an illegal substance using on drywall mud thrower, just like himself. He was grooming that kid, and Candace was grooming that kid.
I
And
think they had the kids playing on each other too, role play.
I want to tell you something.
Those little kids have suffered in Julie.
Them
Sick
two,
fuckers.
them two mother freakers right there. That Candace, and Don Wells. Let me tell you something. They give Southern folks a bad name. It's mother freakers like them that give people a bad name. These are the inbred mother freakers right here. Like Jinky said, Jinky's came out and said plainly that Candace, confided in her that her and Dawn, they was going to take Dawn and Candace down for SAing those children. These mother freakers were up there sleeping, with their own. Who in the fuck does that? Who in the fuck does that?
No one.
Just like, oh my God, I don't even know. That you want to talk about sick. That is motherfucking sick. That's sick. Usually,
I keep those boys in my prayers.
usually you hear, usually you hear about sick mother freakers like Don Wells. You hear about sick mother freakers like Don Wells. But who in the hell be hearing about a mother doing that kind of sick shit? Who in the hell ever hears about a mom doing some sick shit like this? That's fucking just like, oh my God. No, that's no. That's hell to the no. Hell to the fucking no. Mothers have those children. You carry that baby 9 months. 9 months. You go in there and you go through a lot of pain to bring that baby into this world. And when you
Exactly.
hold it in your arms, man, I'm going to tell you, every bit of that pain was worth it. Every ounce of that pain was worth it. And you're going to protect that baby with everything you got. And
Exactly.
there's no damn body going to be touching it. No fucking body. And I'm going to tell you something. That is one sick fucking bitch right there. One sick fucking bitch. I don't even care to sit there and not only allow someone else to do this kind of evilness, but doing it herself. Oh, hell no.
I had a step grandfather, PG, and I was about 2.5. My brother would have been 4. And anyway, he'd sleep on the lounge and I'd sleep in the bedroom, and my grandfather at the time would be sitting in the kitchen in his underpants. And I remember going to the fridge quite often for a cold drink of water through the night. And I remember this sick bastard, and I remember what he did to me. And I remember that it happened over and over and over again. And my brother has just started to tell me that he copped it too. Sorry. My brother just told me last week that he was molested by him too.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear that. You know, no one should ever in their life be done like that. But I'm going to tell you what, there's
And
nothing,
it makes me mad to
there's
think that
nothing,
that little girl is
there's
still
nothing,
missing.
there's nothing that no one could say that can make it better except that you got to stop letting these motherfuckers, live rent
Exactly.
free in your head, and they took enough away from your life.
Yep.
What people need to understand that go through tragedies like this, they need to understand it wasn't about them. It's not about you. It's about the son of a bitch that did it. It was all about them. It was all about them. It wasn't ever about you. It was, it had nothing to do with you. That mother freaker, was evil. That mother freaker took full advantage of you for their self gain. It had nothing to do with you, and you have got to understand that and let the sin lay where it belongs, on that son of a bitch. And you need to go forth and live your life, not even thinking about it, because that fucker's going to live their life and they ain't going to think about it. They're not,
Yep.
they're not going to, you can sit there and let them continue to cause you all the pain and grief and all the bullshit and mess you up so you can't enjoy life. Or you can let it the fuck go and understand it had nothing to do with you. That's on them. They're going to probably burn in hell anyway, and walk away from it. Just walk
Yeah,
away from
he'd
it.
be burning in hell.
Live your life. Every day. Live your life like it's the last day. Live your life and enjoy your life, and understand that you don't ever have to look or see or put up with that fucking human being again. Period. They can no longer
I'm not.
do nothing to you. And,
Yeah, I'm
and
not
not even
upset.
be a thought. Not
I'm
even
not
be
upset
a
over
thought that
me
they want
anymore.
to be.
I'm more upset for my brother. Just hearing it from that my brother's still dealing with it. I don't know why he's left it so long for to talk to me about it.
And the best thing you could do for your brother is explain to him what I just explained to you, so he can feel free, so he can be free of that and move
Yep,
forward in his life enjoying it.
exactly.
Don't sit there and let that son of a bitch continue to violate you over and over and over again, because that's what they're going to do. That's what's going to happen if you continue to think about it, you continue to let it be, to be a problem in your life. They keep violating you,
Exactly.
until you understand it wasn't about you, and until you understand to get over it and not let it ever be a thought of yours
I've
again.
even forgiven him.
They're going to continue to violate you. And
Yeah.
I'm a victim as well, but I refuse. I refuse to let that person have any more than was already taken from me. I refuse. And I'm going to tell you what, I live every day to the fullest. I always be as kind as I can, as nice as I can. I always try to treat people with the utmost respect, and I always try to help other victims, with the understanding that it don't have nothing to do with you. Move on, live your life, and let it go. Let it go, because
Yep.
that person, that quit giving them pleasure. Quit giving them pleasure, by knowing they caused you pain. Stop it. That's the best thing
Yep.
you can do for yourself. You know, it's like forgiveness. Forgiveness, people think forgiveness is for the, oh, I'm not going to forgive that person because, you know,
No,
forgiveness
forgiveness
ain't
is
for
the
them.
first.
Forgiveness is
Forgiveness
not
is the
for them.
first
It's
step
for
to
you.
healing.
It's for you, girlfriend. You
Yep.
have to, you forgive them so you can move on and live your
Exactly.
life in peace. You want peace? Forgive people. Forgive the evil bastard. Don't forget, but forgive and move on. Right? And move on. Don't give them a second chance.
Exactly. That.
The first time, shame on you. The second time, baby, is shame on me. Right? The first time
Yeah.
is shame on them. The second time is shame on you.
Yeah.
Don't let a second time happen.
Yep. Anyway, PG, I'll hop down.
Hey, girl, I love you. You
Love
know,
you and love to everyone in chat.
hey,
God bless and God
love
bless all
you.
and bring summer home soon.
Hug your brother, girl. And let him know
Oh, I will when I see him.
to move on and live life. To live life.
Yep.
It's what you need to do.
Okay. God bless. Bye.
Yes. Hey, that's what God wants you to do. God, you know, that's why they have forgiveness. That's why they have those evil people. Those evil people know not what they do. Even Jesus on the cross, he said, Father, they know not what they do. Get rid of them. Get them the hell out your life. Live your life in peace. You know, you don't need that shit. Nobody needs that shit. Right? But I'm going to tell you something. These Wells kids, I don't think any of us could ever understand the terror, the misery, the pain, the sorrow. I don't think any of us could ever understand the haunting that these children went through at the hands of Don, Candace, and Grandis. These were some real sick son of a bitches. And if they're listening, they know I'm telling the truth, right? They know PG is telling the truth. And I'm going to tell you what, I wouldn't tell anything less. Who do I fear so much that I would defy my God? I don't fear nobody. I don't fear nobody on this fucking earth. Let me tell you something. The only person I fear is God. God holds my every day in his hand. Every day he holds PG in his hands. I know who controls all things, and it ain't no human. It's God Almighty. And I'm going to tell you what, I don't fear no human. I'm not out here to please and appease no humans or anything else. What I'm out here for is to tell the truth for the missing children who need to be found, brought home, and justice served. No child should ever be done like this. No child deserves to be done like that. And I'm going to tell you what, if it doesn't upset you, well, you sure to hell should. This kind of stuff right here should really upset you to the fullest. It should upset you so much that you want to see justice done. You want these children found. Law enforcement, if they can't do the job, then they need to hire someone that can. Our taxpayer, we pay taxes. Spend that taxpaying money on people that can get the fucking job done. If they can't do it, get somebody in there that can. We want this little girl found. We want her brought home, and we want justice served on her behalf. And I don't know why some justice ain't already been served the way these people are sitting around admitting to what the fuck they done. They're throwing it in our faces. They're throwing it in law enforcement's faces. And it's time that law enforcement gets off their ass and does something about it, right? Absolutely. Put a 1 in the chat if you agree with that. Because I sure the hell do. We the people are tired of the shit. Hey girl, I appreciate that super sticker. All right. God bless. I appreciate it. But I'm going to tell you something. This little boy's coming out. This little boy is going to be coming out. He's already signing up with someone, and he's going to be coming forward, and it's going to be coming to YouTube. So you know what? We're going to get some information we didn't have before. We're going to get a whole lot of information we didn't have before, right? We're going to find some real truth now. And Don and Candace, I understand why you're scared. I understand why you're shaking in your fucking shoes. Well, you know what, Candace? You're getting a little taste. You're getting a little taste of what Hunter felt like that day after you had him do some evil, wicked shit, right? Now you're going to know what it's like to be Hunter, shaking in your fucking shoes. You old freaking nasty. You're freaking nasty. You're the special kind of fucking nasty. The special kind. And that's my opinion. I'll keep it. But you fucking know you are. Where's Summer? Where's Summer, Candace? Where is Summer? Across the street? Morrison Cemetery? Old Timothy's grave? I'm going to tell you, Candace, somebody's going to go over there. Somebody's going to take the time. They're going to take the time to do what it takes to search that grave. And when they do, your ass is probably going to be in prison for a long, 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 long time. A long time. But it doesn't matter where Summer is. God knows. God knows exactly where Summer's at. And when God wants her found and he wants you in prison, it's going to happen, okay? And I trust in God. And I'm going to keep praying. I'm going to keep praying that this little girl gets the justice she deserves. I'm going to keep praying. God answers prayers, Candace. He answers prayers. You know that, don't you? You know that. Because when your teeth were hurting like hell, you was feeling that pain, you sure was a praying that somehow, some way, somebody helps you, right? But as soon as you were out of pain, you forgot. You forgot that God answers prayers. You probably ain't prayed since. Because you only know how to pray for yourself. You couldn't feel your little girl in all that pain. Didn't give a fuck about her pain. You just care about your own. I'm going to tell you something. God knows you. And he knows that we're all praying for your little girl and for your little girl to be found. And I'm going to tell you something. 253 prayers going up tonight. I'm sure God's going to listen. And he's going to have mercy. And he might just let us find Summer and actually get the justice she deserves. And in Jesus' name, I sure prayed it. I sure prayed tonight, Candace, that he does. I'm praying right now as we speak. There you go. And your boy is the answer to that prayer, I bet. I bet he's going to be the answer to that prayer, and he's about to come out and tell it all. God be with us. God be with us. No, God don't like evil. He don't like evil. Candace, I watched Candace go to church. She was filming herself in the church, and she's fucking around, playing around. She wasn't in church to listen to God's word. She wasn't in church to hear, to get some God and Jesus in her life. She was there to see and be seen and to mess around and have her little damn video while she was there, right? Because her and Don Wells use God. Evil people like that use God. They don't worship God. They don't, they're not like us. They're not like real Christians who love God and want to be with God and care about God and pray that God's always with them. No. They're those people that use God to slide their foot in so they can do evil to other people. That's why she was in church fucking around and playing around. When I walk in the church house, I turn my phone off. I turn my phone off. Or at least I turn the sound off. Like if I think, I might get an important phone call or something, I turn the sound off. That way, I still know if a phone call's coming through. And if I need to take it, I could step out and take the phone call. But you know, I'm very respectful. I'm not in there videoing and playing around and mess. I go to church to hear the word of God. I go to church and see if God's got a message for me today, right? Hopefully he's talking to somebody else. Sometimes he talks to PG. I mean, if you go to church and God's got a message for you, you know, he's got it might not be a good message, you know, and most of the time it ain't. Most of the time, you know, you be doing something wrong. You be letting the flesh, right? You be letting the flesh take control instead of the spirit. You be living in the flesh, and then you go to church, and God, you know, calls you out, right? You're there, and all of a sudden you look up at the preacher because it's like, whoa, you're talking to me today, right? You're talking to me. And you know you got busted. You know you got busted. God said, yeah, I seen you, you know, getting rowdy when you shouldn't have been getting rowdy. I seen you doing things that you shouldn't have been doing, you know, and here you are getting called out. And so when I go to church, I be listening. And then I look around, see who this message, you know, if it ain't for me, I know it's for somebody else. So I be looking around, who's looking guilty in here today? And here you see them go. You see them take out of their seat and run to the front, right? And you say, oh, that was for them. You're happy it wasn't for you. You're like, no, I must be staying on the good path. Got to keep on this path, right? The way it is. You go to church, lay your burdens down. That's what people do. Yeah, you do. I'm going to tell you something. You sure do. And I'll tell you another thing. You ever see when that message don't only hit you, but it hits 3 or 4 other people, and all of you are down there? All of you are down there, huddled around together, because you all being, you know, you might have been in different places, but you were doing the same thing. Right? You were sharing that message that day. I mean, God, you know, he got a lot of birds with one stone, right? That's how it happens sometimes. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you. Sometimes PG has to take it to the altar in the middle of the week, right? I have to take it to the altar in the middle of the week. I don't even make it through a whole week. I have to be at the altar in the middle of the week. It's like, whoa, you know, I be getting too rowdy. Sometimes. But I don't like evilness. I'm supposed to be slow to anger. That's one of the things, you know, that I try to control the most. Because that's the one thing that, you know, I fight with the most is controlling the anger. Because people make you angry, right? They make you angry. You go to the store and you've got somebody on a hate train wanting to, you know, take their bullshit out on everybody, and I just ain't the person to take your bullshit out on, because I could get just as ugly as someone else, and my flesh wants to get ugly, you know, it wants to get ugly, and you know, and I'm not the greatest at, you know, holding it back. You know, it's like, oh hell, you started it, you know, and for some reason I think I got to finish it, and it just don't work good, right? It's just all bad, and but you know, or you be talking to somebody on. I promise you, I talked to like 3 people today on the phone. They were all assholes. They were all freaking assholes. And And I had a really hard time trying to control my temper, right? I had a really hard, because the flesh wants to tell them what to do with themselves. The spirit says, kill them with kindness, right? Stay kind, be kind, do righteousness. And here you are fighting, you're fighting between telling them where to stick it and saying, God bless you, I need to hang up, right? So sometimes we struggle. Sometimes we struggle. Yeah, it is the truth. It is the God's honest truth, and I gotta sometimes this thing hits me. Jesus is meek, not weak. And when that hits you, Jesus is meek, not weak. It's like, I just think it's an open door. I think it's an open door, right? To just say and do what PG wants to. I'm like, Jesus, just hold my coat. The door's open. But I don't know, you guys. I know how I see it, but is it true? I don't know. I'm gonna tell you, Chad was stalking people up in that cemetery. That is so true, little PG. Absolutely. He was stalking people up over there in that cemetery. And let me tell you something that makes me believe that she's there even more. And not only that, they were really keeping an eye on that cemetery once it came out and it was a hot topic. And I think they somehow sent all that law enforcement down there on Van Hill Road. I think somebody sent law enforcement on a wild goose chase to get them off the cemetery. That's my personal opinion. I can't prove it, but it sure to hell seems like what it was. It was a deterrent to get people away from that cemetery. But people are not away from that cemetery. People still minded on that cemetery. And it's just a matter of time that cemetery is going to be looked into. And if Summer's there, these motherfuckers are in a lot of trouble. And if she's there, she's in a black tote down underneath all that dirt. And wouldn't be hard to find. And if she's in a airtight, Rubbermaid airtight freaking tote, then it's possible that her body is still completely preserved, where they'll be able to tell everything. They'll be able to tell everything that happened to her. And at that point, there's going to, all I got to say is shit's going to fly, right? Shit's going to fly then. And a lot of people's going to prison. So, I guess it would scare them up. I guess that would scare them up pretty damn good to try to get, the attention away from there. And with the flowers being on there at the time, Dawn and Candace was giving that little vigil for Summer, and the flowers being over there at the water hole where, we pretty much know, in my opinion, the water holes where she became unalived. And then she met her demise at the water hole, right? And then the cemetery, in my opinion, is where they buried her, because it had flowers too. And then up on Ben Hill around her swing, they had the dollar store freaking lights. And that pisses me off too, that, they care enough to go to the fucking dollar store to, memorialize their daughter. They go to a dollar store, buy dollar store flowers, dollar store lights, dollar store. I mean, can't you freaking at least go to fucking Walmart? Can't you at least spend a little more money than $1 on your daughter, memorializing her? What the hell? That's just sick. That's just fucking sick right there. That, And Dee Dee paid for that bench and all the flowers and stuff that was down there at the end of the property, right? That was Dee Dee's dollars that did all of that. And what did White Boy do with the money he collected in for the bench? What did he do with all the money that came into his way to, to help with the bench? Dee Dee paid for it all, but White Boy, wanted to moralize the bench. I'm going to tell you what, these YouTubers piss me off when they're taking in money, when they, jump on something and take in money, and then they don't fucking give it to the cause. They don't help with the cause. That's bullshit. And I'm going to tell you something. Swindlers ain't getting into heaven. If you think a swindler's going to get into gates of heaven, they're not. And that's swindling. You're swindling people when you say you're going to give to a cause and you don't give to that cause. You take in the money, but you don't give it to where you said it was going. That's fucking swindling. And I'm going to tell you, there's a few of them that's damn good at it. I've seen a few of them that they ain't nothing but fucking swindlers. And that freaking Dolly Vision is one of them. That Dolly Vision, if you want to talk about a fucking swindler, that son of a bitch is one. And he's damn good at it. He's damn good at it. I got to give that motherfucker props. Just saying. He be swindling the hell out of people. Manipulation. I'm going to tell you something. They ain't nothing worth your soul ending up in hell for. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. There's not nothing on the face of this damn earth worth your soul ending up in hell for. Just saying. Oh, yeah. Candace is back. Hell yeah, she's back on the hill. Candace's ass is back on the hill, probably trying to figure out a way to get out of it again. Right? She's right now looking, looking for something else. She's looking for something else to come along. I mean, she had, the one boy she groomed, right? Way back in the day, she was grooming little boys. And she had that one that they had up on the hill for a while. The mom finally got off of there and straightened out. And then Hunter came along and she's grooming him, right? Before Benny Keys came along, and she wanted to groom Benny. And then, she wanted to groom Ernie, right? Then Ernie comes along. She wants to groom Ernie. And, it's just one after the other. Just one after the other. Then, Dee Dee's husband, she wanted to groom him. And, that's all that bitch does. That's all she does is run around, looking for somebody, somebody to cut through her crusty fucking, pie hole, That's what she does. That's what she does. Right? It's nasty. It's just nasty. Man, I call it like I see it. I don't even care. That bitch right there. I'm going to tell you what. If I was a man, I couldn't. I'll be honest with you. You could put a poke over her fucking head. You could put a fucking poke over her whole body, and I still wouldn't touch it. I'd say, man, that is the funniest looking fucking poke I've ever seen in my life, right? That I ain't touching a fucking poke all looking like that. All freaking weird and out of shape and shit. Hell no. Hell no. You put makeup on a fucking pig, but it's still a pig. Hell no. I mean, I gotta say that, these people, them young boys she's grooming, and Benny's and Ernie's, and, man, they're a hell of a lot. They're a hell of a lot, I like to use the term brave, but messing with that ain't brave, right? Messing with that isn't brave. That's fucking that's just nasty. That's just nasty. You can't think a lot of yourself. You don't think a whole lot of yourself to be able to go around that kind of, I mean, that's shit that that's stuff that you shouldn't want to touch with a stick, right? You shouldn't want to fucking poke that with a 10-foot stick, let alone, get around it. Go, I don't even want to breathe. I don't even want to breathe in the same motherfucking broom as them people, right? I mean, I wouldn't want to breathe in a fucking Taj Mahal. I wouldn't want to breathe in the side of the Taj Mahal with them fuckers, let alone a little place like Ben Hill Road or a hotel room. Hell no. Hell no. No way in hell. I'm too mother freaking, man, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm a germophobic. I ain't afraid to say it. I'm a germophobic. I ain't fucking with that. No way in hell. But anyway, listen, you guys, PG's got to head out of here. I love coming in. I love spending time with everybody. I miss you guys. I really do. When I'm not here, I miss each and every last one of you. And I'm working. I'm trying, to get in a rhythm to where I can get back in here and spend more time with everybody and talk about all of these cases. A lot going on everywhere, right? In every case, there's a whole lot going on. And I like to be here. I like to talk with everybody about these cases and be with you guys more often than I've been lately. But I also got a lot going on. I got a lot going on, you guys, in my private life, my private family life here. And right now, as you know, I've got a newborn, a baby, and that takes up a lot of time, a lot of attention. I'm washing a ton of baby bottles, and you don't only have to wash them and rinse them, and you guys know what it's like. You don't only have to wash them and rinse them and everything, but you gotta boil them right. You gotta sterilize them, and you gotta fill them up, and then you gotta heat them up, and oh my gosh, it's a never-ending cycle. And I'm not going to talk about all the diapers and baths and changings, and it's a lot, and it keeps you very busy. On top of I have to work. I got to work for a living, because I refuse to do anything else. And I'm not coming out here gaslighting, blowing smoke up people's backsides, and I'm not going to come out here and I'm not going to come out here and be no damn Dolly or White Boys or Benny Keys or those kind of people. I'm not coming out here for that kind of stuff. Absolutely no. I refuse to come out here and do stuff like that. I come out here to tell the truth and to honestly help these missing kids and do what needs to be done for them. That's what I come out here for. And I'm not going to ever change that any way, form, or how. So I still got to get up, and I still got to work a daytime job, and I still got to, take care of everything else on top of all of that. So I stay quite busy. I get quite tired. And, sometimes I just, I just can't be in here because of so much going on. But I do miss you when I'm not here. And I am trying and working to be here more than I have been. So, I want you to know that. I want you to know that I miss you guys. You guys are awesome. You're the best. And, whatever you do, don't let these people, do not let these people ever mistreat you out here. Do not, I'm going to tell you, when I first came to YouTube, the chat was being treated very badly. They treated the chat like they were peasants. They act like they were some kind of king or queen sitting up on the throne just because they had a channel, and they treated the people who meant the most very badly. And that made me very sad to see people doing that, using and abusing the chats. And it's just bullshit. It's bullshit, you guys. And if it ain't, these people wouldn't have a channel if it wasn't for you. You are what makes these channels. And you are here for the right reasons. Make sure they are. Make sure that the person sitting up on this panel is here for the right reasons too. And if they're not, don't be there. Don't be there. I'm going to tell you, you are not disposable. You are essential. You are what makes or breaks them. Know your worth. Know your worth. Always know your worth. Don't let anyone ever use or abuse you. You don't need that shit in your life. Absolutely not. They don't treat you with the utmost respect. Tell them where they can get off at and move on. Because there is people who do love and do respect you. I know I do. So make sure that you don't ever let people treat you like that again. If you were one of them getting mistreated by these other channels. Don't let them do it again. I want to let you guys know that. But I'm going to try to be here as much as possible. But when I'm not, make sure that you're getting the utmost respect wherever you're at or wherever you go. And remember, God always goes with you, right? He always goes with you. Remember that. All right, you guys, PG's heading out of here. Make sure you pray for Summer. Make sure tonight, before you guys go to bed, 218 people still here. Before you go to bed, fold your hands, bow your head, and just say a prayer. Say a prayer for this little girl. Say, God, I don't know where she's at, but I know you do. And wherever she is, please, God, let her be found. Let her be brought home. Let justice be served. Most of all, please let us know the truth. Let this little girl be brought home, laid to rest righteously. Let her be put to rest righteously. And let her brothers find the peace that they need. Let us find the peace that we need in all of this. Because we all love her. We all care about her. And God, we only want the best for her. Help us to know the truth and what happened to this child. In the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Pray for this little girl, you guys. She depends on us. She said, help me. Somebody, anybody. That's you. That's me. Send those prayers up for her. God be with us. Pray for one another as well, and all the other missing children in this world. Good night, everybody. God bless. Much love. Thank you.